My sisters, the matter started small small, the way many marriages do. Okechukwu was the kind of man that always wanted to have the final say. If Mama Nnena suggested that they cook egusi for dinner, he would insist on ogbono. If she said the children needed new sandals, he would shout that old ones were still good. Even if she reminded him about farm work, he would wave his hand and claim he knew better. But the funny thing was this: anytime Okechukwu insisted on his way, wahala would follow. One evening, he said, Nnena, today we will cook ogbono. That one is sweeter than egusi. Mama Nnena just looked at him and smiled. No problem, let's cook ogbono. She cooked it very well, but when Okechukwu sat to eat, he discovered that the soup was watery, with palm oil floating on top like river water. He frowned. Nnena, what is this? Did you forget how to cook? Mama Nnena just carried her own bowl full of thick, rich egusi she had cooked secretly in another pot. My husband, you said ogbono, so I gave you ogbono. But me, I prefer egusi, and I must eat what will satisfy my stomach. The man was boiling with anger, but he couldn't talk. He managed to swallow the watery soup while she enjoyed her own food with soft pounded yam. From that day, Okechukwu made it his mission to prove that he was the boss in the house. But Mama Nnena was not a woman to be easily defeated. Okechukwu, was not the type to give up easily. He started small, trying different ways to outsmart his wife. One morning, he thought he would test her cleverness. He hid the last few naira notes he had in his drawer, hoping she would panic when she needed money. But Mama Nnena, she didn't even blink. That woman just smiled, went to the village market, and returned with fresh vegetables and fish. Okechukwu was shocked. Nnena, how did you even get money? Mama Nnena laughed softly. My dear husband, I borrow small from Auntie Chioma when necessary. We women are never helpless. Another time, Okechukwu decided to embarrass her in the market. He told her, today, you will carry my bag, and I want you to greet everyone loudly so they can see who is the smart woman in this house. Mama Nnena played along. She greeted people, yes, but when it came to lifting the heavy bag, she made it fall on Okechukwu's foot. The whole market roared with laughter while he limped back home, red in the face. Even with small quarrels about children or farm work, every trick Okechukwu tried either backfired or was quietly turned around by Mama Nnena. The man became restless. He spent more time plotting than resting, and he began to wonder, is this woman human or spirit? Finally, in a fit of frustration, he muttered to himself, if I cannot outwit her by normal means, maybe I need help from the shrine. And that, my sisters, is how Okechukwu decided to go and consult the diviner. So, one bright morning, Okechukwu set out, muttering under his breath, if this woman must scatter my brain every time, I will go find the diviner. Maybe he can give me something small, just a charm to keep her mouth in check. He arrived at the shrine, a place everyone in the village both feared and respected. Drums were silent that day, but the smell of kola nuts and incense made the air thick. The diviner, Baba Eze, was sitting calmly, eyes closed, looking older than the hills, yet sharp as a hawk. Okechukwu bowed and said, Baba Eze, I need your help. My wife, she's too clever. I cannot control her. Please give me charm or potion to make her obey me. Baba Eze opened one eye, then the other. He smiled slowly. Ah, young man, you want to control a woman's mind? That is not small thing. Are you ready to pay the price? Okechukwu nodded quickly. Yes, anything. I cannot continue like this. She scatters me every day. Baba Eze laughed, a sound like dry leaves cracking. Very well, but you must promise, if this charm works, you will still respect her. Because if you try to abuse it, it will backfire. Okechukwu, blinded by desperation, agreed without thinking. He didn't hear the warning clearly. Baba Eze handed him a small pouch filled with herbs. Use it carefully at night when she is asleep. Whisper it into her ear. But remember, the charm will only work if your heart is patient, not greedy. Okechukwu left the shrine, clutching the pouch like it was gold. His mind raced with plans, thinking at last he would finally be the one in charge. Little did he know, Mama Nnena already suspected that he was up to something. That woman, I tell you, her senses were sharper than a hawk's eye. She had a plan waiting. That night, Okechukwu waited until Mama Nnena was asleep. He rubbed the herbs between his fingers, whispering the secret words Baba Eze had taught him. By this charm, you will obey me. Nnena, you will not talk back. You will not outwit me. He tiptoed to her side, confident that finally, at last, he would have the upper hand. But you know how women are. Mama Nnena had pretended to sleep. She heard every whisper. Okechukwu waited for signs, staring at her face, expecting her eyes to glaze over or her mouth to close. But nothing happened. She just lay there, breathing softly, pretending to be under the spell. By the third whisper, Okechukwu's excitement turned to confusion. Why is she not responding? This is supposed to work. Mama Nnena suddenly sat up, rubbed her eyes, and smiled sweetly. Okechukwu, my dear, are you talking to me? He stammered. Yes, Nnena, just resting your ears, you know. She laughed quietly, shaking her head. Resting my ears? My husband, why are you whispering to me in the dark with herbs in your hand? Okechukwu's face turned red like fire. It is just nothing. Mama Nnena leaned closer, whispering teasingly. You know, these things you got from the diviner, I think they are only strong for clever men who have patient hearts. Maybe that's why it is not working on me. Okechukwu froze, his mind spun. He realized slowly, painfully, that the charm was doing nothing. His wife was still as sharp, as clever, and as untouchable as ever. The man sank onto his mat, muttering, Mama Nnena, how did you know? Mama Nnena just laughed softly and lay back down. Ah, my husband, you should know by now. Trying to outwit me will always backfire. The very next day, Okechukwu decided to try the charm again, thinking maybe last night's failure was just a one-time thing. He waited until Mama Nnena went to the kitchen to cook breakfast with the herbs in his hand. He whispered softly, by this charm, you will obey me. Today, you will listen to my every word. Mama Nnena, of course, heard every whisper. She smiled to herself and went about her work, pretending nothing was happening. Okechukwu commanded her to cook yam the way he liked it, but she decided to show him just how clever she could be. While he turned his back, she mixed the yams with some of the bitter leaves from the garden, leaves only she knew how to use, and served them to him with a big smile. He bit into it and spat it out immediately. Nnena, what is this bitterness? She feigned surprise. Bitter? Oh, my husband, maybe your mouth is stronger than usual today. I followed your instructions exactly. Okechukwu stormed out of the kitchen, muttering, this woman is testing me. Not satisfied, he waited until the children went to school. He whispered to the herbs again, this time telling her, when I speak, you will nod and agree. Today, you will not question me. Mama Nnena nodded, but in the wrong. When he said, bring me water, she brought him a bucket of water instead of a glass. When he said, sit down and rest, she sent him to sweep the compound instead. Neighbors passing by could not help but laugh quietly at Okechukwu, who was now red in the face and shouting at his obedient wife. By the end of the day, Okechukwu was exhausted. His head was spinning from confusion. Every trick, every charm, every whisper, Mama Nnena turned it all around. She even told him in her sweetest voice, my dear husband, perhaps you are using the charm wrong. Maybe your heart is so impatient. Okechukwu slumped onto his chair. He was beginning to realize, slowly and painfully, that no magic, no charm, no trick could ever outsmart Mama Nnena. The next morning, Okechukwu decided that if he couldn't control Mama Nnena at home, he would try to show everyone in the village who was boss. He woke her up early and said, Nnena, today you will carry my basket to the market. You will greet everyone politely and do exactly as I say. I want them to see who is the clever woman in this house. Mama Nnena nodded, pretending to obey, but in her mind she was already planning a little market lesson. When they reached the busy village market, Okechukwu proudly walked ahead, chest out, imagining the whispers of admiration that would follow. Watch carefully, Nnena. Today you will obey me, and I will finally show who is in charge, he muttered. Mama Nnena followed quietly. At the first stall, Okechukwu told her to pick the heaviest yams. She did, but she placed the basket on a slippery mat and it slid straight onto Okechukwu's foot. He yelped loudly, hopping on one leg as everyone around burst out laughing. Not done, she led him past the palm oil seller, telling him to lift a bottle carefully. But as he reached for it, she accidentally nudged the bottle, which spilled all over his sandals. The villagers laughed even harder. My husband, are you okay? She said innocently, pretending to help him wipe them. Hey, Nnena, this is, he stammered, flustered and red-faced. By the time they left the market, Okechukwu was exhausted, humiliated, and completely aware that Mama Nnena had turned the charm and his own plan into a disaster for him. He muttered under his breath, this woman, I cannot outsmart her, no matter what I do. Mama Nnena just smiled and whispered, perhaps, my dear husband, you should stop trying and learn to respect me instead. A few days later, Okechukwu was still trying little tricks with the charm, but every attempt backfired. He was exhausted, confused, and secretly worried that the whole village was laughing at him behind his back. Mama Nnena, seeing her chance, decided it was time to teach him a lesson he would never forget. One evening, she called him to sit beside her and whispered in the softest voice, Okechukwu, maybe the charm is finally working. You see, I feel like I must obey you. Today, anything you say, I will do exactly as you wish. Okechukwu's eyes lit up. Finally, at last, I knew it would work. He clapped his hands with glee and started giving her instructions for everything. How to cook, how to sweep the compound, even how to greet the neighbors. Mama Nnena followed each instruction, but just a little too literally. When he told her to cook dinner, she added double the chill he liked, making it unbearably spicy. When he told her to water the garden, she watered the neighbor's flowers instead. When he told her to greet the market women politely, she exaggerated so much that everyone laughed as if he was training a child. By the next morning, Okechukwu was completely exhausted and embarrassed. Word got to Baba Eze, the diviner, who came by to check if the charm had worked. He laughed heartily at the scene. Ah, young man, you went seeking magic to control a clever woman, and now she is using your charm to teach you a lesson, Baba Eze said, still laughing. Okechukwu hung his head. He realized he had been trying to outwit a woman far smarter than he was, and that no charm, no trick, and no scheme could ever replace respect and wisdom. Mama Nnena smiled and said softly, my dear husband, it is not about magic. It is about understanding, patience, and respect. You will never outsmart me if your heart is greedy. Okechukwu nodded slowly, finally understanding. From that day onward, Okechukwu never tried to outsmart Mama Nnena again. The village, of course, had heard about his market disaster and the charmed fiasco, and they could not stop teasing him. Okechukwu, you finally met your match. The neighbors would laugh, shaking their heads. But Mama Nnena, she became the quiet queen of the village, known for her cleverness and patience. People came from far and near just to hear how she had turned her husband's own charm against him, teaching him respect the smart way. Okechukwu learned to listen before speaking, respect before commanding, and patience before plotting. And though he sometimes grumbled quietly, even he had to admit that life at home had become much more peaceful and far more enjoyable. Years later, the children would giggle whenever the story was retold, how their father went to the shrine, how he tried charms, how their mother outsmarted him at every turn. It became a story that everyone in the village remembered. A tale of laughter, wisdom, and a clever woman who taught her husband that no magic can beat respect and intelligence. Mama Nnena and Okechukwu lived the rest of their lives together, full of love, laughter, and occasional playful quarrels. But now, the husband always knew better than to think he could outwit his clever wife. And so, my sisters, the story of their husband who could not outwit his wife, no matter how hard he tried, became legendary. A tale mothers told their daughters, and daughters told their friends, reminding everyone that respect and wisdom always win in the end.